From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
700 years before medieval Europe ever captured or shipped one black soul, one African, out of Africa. The Arabs had created the trade. They ran the trade. And they control the trade to this day, where it's seen as a status symbol to have African slaves in your haram, which is the godlike heaven zone that a lord lives in. Haram, the hidden, the secret, the heaven. And all over the world, the ultra-rich Islamicists have black servants.
They sell Africans over there. In Libya, they sell men. Even 15-year-old Libyans are there in a car, they're armed. They'll come and kidnap you, and they'll sell you for $70 to $150. And then others will resell you.
As soon as you arrive in Libya, the first thing that happens is that you are taken away and sold.
Like an animal, I was sold 4 times in open markets in Libya. The last time I was sold for $10,000. I was tortured every day.
The worldwide hub for the slave trade all over the Pacific Ocean, starting 700 years before any blacks were sold by whites, was Somalia. And the light-skinned Arabs there did not allow their people to marry anyone from Kenya or the surrounding areas. They got slaves from as far away as Nigeria.
Ero accolto più di loro di alcuni, però a causa della mia razza o della mia tribù, che era considerata inferiore, ero discriminato e considerato schiavo. Mi portava a non amare più di stare lì, costretto a andare, perché loro i somali ogni momento dicevano che io ero un tanzaniano.
Well, what we're finding is that Libya is now a broken economy without any rule. It's got a very small population, 6 million people, and the size of Libya is twice the size of France. So it's a small population, and they seem to be essentially living off the migrant trade, from migrants being passed from one to another, being exploited as laborers who don't get paid, or simply being abused in different ways and being sold on for profit. So it's kind of a shocking situation, and it's very difficult to know what can be done about it, because the country is in such chaos, and as we know, ISIS are there. There are different militias. There's no central government of any name.
Now, this is currently going on. Ilhan Omar is an Arab, and it talks about she is a god. You look up her name, it's one of the dominant families in Somalia that is known as royalty, basically, and known as rulers of humans or rulers of slaves. Piracy, kidnapping, black slavery, white slavery. She's a god. And she comes to rule you, and you will bow. You will hit that damn knee.
Too sensitive for its citizens. Translation: Google is helping China silence its political opposition.
China's chilling dictatorship is moving quickly to introduce social scorecards in which all citizens will be monitored 24/7 and ranked on their behavior.
A higher rating means you get benefits like no deposit of renting house or skipping airport security, but the low scores means you can't rent a car or apply for visas. The Chinese government expects to make this system mandatory in 2020.
Google is planning to launch a censored version of its search engine in China.
The Chinese government, as people probably know, has a quite comprehensive...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, they have caught deep state spies inside the White House stealing national security information. Things are about to explode. As I told you 2.5 years ago, the White House was chopped full absolutely crammed to the gills with deep state operatives, both from the neocon and the leftist globalist wings. They were spying on President Trump the entire time and leaking twisted information. They would take anything and everything Trump did and then leak the classified info, but mix lies into it as well, trying to derail the country. They engaged in shadow diplomacy where they would know what the president's moves were going to be. That would be given to Barack Obama, to John Kerry, to Hillary Clinton, and others. Well, several of those spies have been discovered. A lot more of those spies are going to be discovered, and these documents are being released to Congress. This should be the top story in the nation. But, of course, if you're not on Infowars.com or DrudgeReport.com or thegatewaypundit.com, you're not going to hear anything about it. But the headline on Infowars.com is Deep State Spies Caught Stealing National Security Information from the White House. It's all completely illegal, just like Sandy Berger snuck into the bubble in the Capitol and went in and got classified information that exposed Bill Clinton and put it in his socks and got caught because he wanted it out of there. There was only one copy. He was afraid someone would read it. Well, he barely even served any time for that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the type of things they're up to, and it's cut and dry illegal. And the word is 3 different federal grand juries are hearing the evidence for indictment, and the word is the indictments are going to be handed down. James Comey, of course, gave the order illegally, and nothing criminal was found. But the act of stealing the classified data and the act of putting a spy in the White House totally violates the separation of powers. It shows a rogue agency. I'm going to be covering this at the bottom of the hour in detail with the documents, the names, the facts. We've got them all right here. We're going to go over those. And I'm also waiting on a phone call that I'm going to be taking during the next break with more information on this, because I was told about this not just 2.5 years ago, but obviously we've been breaking that down, and we have some good sources that are going to tell us exactly who the other indictments are going to be of, reportedly. So this is a big, big, big deal, and we'll be looking at all of it coming up at the bottom of the hour in about 20 minutes from now. Here's what else we've got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. AOC, U.S. must have lifelong commitment to migrant children, health care services for life. That's right, you heard that right. She says they're victims of concentration camps. They're made to drink out of toilets. They've been so abused that they need free services and psychological services for life, she told the London Guardian. Now, you've seen hundreds of lawsuits filed, all asking for $3 million if children were separated for even an hour from their parents while it was verified who they were with, or if the living conditions weren't the Ritz-Carlton, supposedly, $3 million a piece of taxpayer money. You see, when you come here to get free stuff and you bring your kids across dangerous deserts and pay smugglers to do it, and a lot of them aren't their parents, they use them to mule drugs across, how do you turn that around when you're a criminal group engaging in crime and sucking off people and endangering your children? Many times not even your children. Well, you turn around and say, concentration camps, and we deserve more free stuff for the rest of our lives. Well, Tlaib, we'll play a clip in a moment, the Islamic congresswoman from Detroit, the burnout rubble of that once great city, she's saying that everyone deserves $20 an hour. Even though Bernie Sanders had to lay off a lot of his employees or a lot of his campaign people, or cut them from 60 hours to 43 hours because they demanded to go from $13 an hour to $15 an hour. But Sanders was paying them time and a half, and so they had to get the extra 20 hours cut, because time and a half for 13 is obviously a lot of money, but time and a half for 15 is even more. So he's learning about economics. He's never run a business. He's swindled colleges and has $3 million plus homes and drives $118,000 cars. I actually looked it up. $118,000 car. I've never had a $100,000 car. I mean, this is just all going on here, but he's going to tell you that you've got to hire people for $15 an hour. Now, in New York, you pretty much need that. Not in South Texas. The owner of the little, hot dog shack doesn't make $15 an hour. So it's just insane. So here's Tlaib offering more free stuff. Free housing, free transportation, free education, free healthcare, free, and now $20. Here it is.
But $2.13 as a tipped employees pay $2.13 per hour federally. Some states, of course, here in Michigan, it's over $3.50 or so. But think about that for 1 minute. And people cannot live on those kinds of wages. And we can't allow people to be living off of tips, relying on tipped wages. It's just not, or whatever they call it, tipped income, because it's just not enough to support our families. But I also want to always tell a story because...
Okay, I can't listen anymore of this. You heard her say $20, which again, when you add in all the taxes and the regulations and the Social Security, somebody being paid $20 an hour is being paid like $26, $27 an hour. Nobody can pay that in your average retail shop or wherever. A lot of times, little retail shops aren't selling but a couple $100 of things an hour. How do you pay for the lights, the regulations, the insurance, the rent, or the property taxes and the employees? It's insane. But the New York Times says we need a $33 an hour. Do you know what inflation will do if they did that too? Again, this would sink the economy. You know what the average wage in China is, right? It's $2 an hour. How are we going to compete with Mexico that's got less than $2 an hour being the average wage? Well, the answer is you're not going to do it. And the country is going to go belly up, which is the Democrats' plan. Cloward and Piven is to wreck the economy to be able to completely and totally, absolutely take it over. We're going to go to break, and I'm going to come back and get more into this. But the idea that you get here and you're entitled to free stuff for life because you're a victim, it's like slave reparations. But then meanwhile, Ilhan Omar comes from the upper caste elite tribe of Somalis that specialty is slavery to this day, but only of subhuman blacks. They have a name for it. We just played in the first segment, if you missed it, documentaries with black Africans from Kenya who, by the way, on average have higher IQs than Somalis. I looked it up and are stronger and everything else. But, of course, they're saying they're subhuman when, if you look at all the African tribes, the Kenyans are pretty noble folks. Definitely compared to the Somalis. So it's just amazing inversion of reality, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute inversion of reality. So that's all coming up today and so much more. Please do not forget, we got DNA Force Plus back in stock. It is the strongest PQQ, CoQ10, resveratrol, just all of the things that are award-winning, all the things that are seen as the very best out there. It's in there. ELV ATP, that's the ingredient of the year by the Nutra Ingredients Awards Conference, increases cellular energy levels, improves athletic performance. CoQ10, PQQ, and it just goes on and on. Astragalus, reishi mushroom, alpha lipoic acid, rhodiola. I mean, I just can't go over all this, folks. Transresveratrol, cordyceps, sinensis. It's the best of the best for your cells, for your body, for your brain. It's DNA Force Plus, 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com.
Hi, could I get a moment of your time? Could you tell me, do you agree with AOC that ICE is running concentration camps on the border?
I'm watching the midterms.
There are camps and people are being concentrated. This is very simple. I don't even know why this is a controversial thing for her to say. We have to really truthfully speak about what's taking place, and this is why it's really important for us to abolish ICE and make sure that we have an agency that is accountable to the people, that is dealing with the situation in a humane way. There's no there's no way that we can allow for kids to be caged in this country and children to be separated from their families and people being terrorized in their communities.
Is it fair to
we have to make sure that we are calling it out, and I am 100% with Alex.
I'm watching the midterms, man, you would think our country is Mad Max Thunderdome. This guy is like, they're coming from Guatemala, they're coming from Mexico. There's a liberal mob that's coming.
You voted Trump! You voted Trump! Oh,
Supporting the president. You ain't supporting
Muslims. And you would think everybody in the country is just like, to the bunker.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say that we should not, that never again means something. And that the fact that concentration camps are now an institutionalized practice in the home of the free is extraordinarily disturbing. And we need to do something about it. This week, immigrant children were moved to the same internment camps where the Japanese were held in the earlier 20th century. And this is not even about a crisis this is not just about the immigrant communities being held in concentration camps being a crisis. This is a crisis for ourselves. This is a crisis on if America will remain America in its actual principles and values, or if we are losing to an authoritarian and fascist presidency. And so I think that is, I don't use those words lightly. I don't use those words to just throw bombs. I use that word because that is what an administration that creates concentration camps is. A presidency that creates concentration camps is fascist. And it's very difficult to say that.
This is what organizing looks like.
That's right.
This is what building power looks like. This is what changing the country looks like. It's when we choose to show up and occupy the room and talk about the things that matter most, talking about our future. Reverend, you bring up a funny anecdote, and I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There is nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors...
Hey guys, did you hear the news? Guardians of the Galaxy is canceled because the lead actor Chris Pratt wore a really insensitive shirt. Now I have to warn you before I show it to you that viewer discretion is advised. Are you ready? Okay, that was scary. So last week, week, Guardians of the Galaxy star Chris Pratt was walking around town with his wife, being normal human beings, when a crazed paparazzi decided to take a photo of the two of them. And somehow, for some reason I can't comprehend, this photo of him holding a water bottle in one hand and his wife in the other turned into one of the biggest stories of the week on the internet. Why? Well, let's look closer. Look at that shirt. That's right. It was his shirt of all things that caused a huge controversy online and sent leftists into a panic. A t-shirt of an American flag with the words "Don't tread on me," which, by the way, you can get right now at InfoWarsStore.com for only $17.76. This t-shirt made liberals all over Twitter call him the forbidden R word. It even led to Yahoo News publishing a full-blown hit piece on Pratt and accuse him of wearing a white super sauce shirt. We have to say super sauce so the YouTube gods don't come after us. Just look at this headline. Chris Pratt criticized for white super sauce t-shirt. This article was so bad that they had to change the headline to Chris Pratt criticized for t-shirt choice. In fact, they even included an update at the top of the article that says, this article was updated on 17 July with the initial headline, Chris Pratt criticized for white super sauce t-shirt, being amended to Chris Pratt criticized for t-shirt choice. References to white super sauce in this article have been removed. But that didn't stop Yahoo from publishing another article that same day. Chris Pratt is in hot water for this controversial t-shirt, and the internet has thoughts. This article, by the way, has plenty of references to white super sauce. The article reads, the coiled rattlesnake with the "Don't tread on me" message is the iconography associated with the Gadsden flag, created by Continental Army Brigadier General Christopher Gadsden. While the flag's original purpose wasn't rooted in white super sauce, it has been adopted by some white super sauces in the far-right groups in recent years. In some of these instances, swaffles, yeah, we'll go with that, have been added to the design. Who adds a swaffle to a... So when Pratt was spotted wearing a shirt with the Gadsden design, some people quickly drew a parallel between Pratt's wardrobe choice and the less positive associations of the flag. So what were the associations Chris Pratt was going for with his wardrobe choice? According to The Blaze, Pratt's t-shirt benefits the pro-America nonprofit Brain Treatment Foundation, an organization dedicated to providing support for brain health initiatives relating to treatment, rehabilitation, research, and public education for those suffering from the effects of traumatic brain injuries, including veterans and the elderly. But of course, that important piece of information is nowhere to be found in either of the Yahoo News articles. Great journalism, guys. After all, this is the same outlet that said a picture of me in New York City was actually taken in New Jersey. I kid you not. Look at this. Caitlin Bennett, pictured in New Jersey with Manhattan in the background, caused controversy when she posed with an AR-10 in her Kent State graduation photos. It's too bad that Yahoo never corrected their piece about me like they did for Chris Pratt. Even after I corrected their lies and posted more of my pictures in New York City after they wrote the article about me last year, Yahoo never bothered to update it, and instead said that I was standing in what appears to be Hoboken, New Jersey. And perhaps in that very sentence lies the problem with modern journalism. Journalists today write about how things appear to them, instead of writing simply about what's true and factual. They are taught to write with their feelings instead of facts. That's exactly what happened to Chris Pratt, and exactly what happened with the Betsy Ross flag a few weeks ago. Nike took the word of a failed NFL quarterback that the Betsy Ross flag was the forbidden R word, and didn't bother to do any historical research to find out that the Betsy Ross flag was the very first flag in US history, and she was commissioned by none other than George Washington himself to come up with a design for our nation's first flag. The feelings of a total loser were more important to Nike than the truth. The Betsy Ross flag is a symbol of independence, as is the Gadsden flag that Chris Pratt wore on his t-shirt. But I have a strong feeling that this is precisely why the left is coming after the American flag now. The real agenda is to take away our freedom, which is why they feel the need to take away all of its symbolism. But we won't let them take away our freedom, and we won't let them take away our flag. That's why you need to go to InfoWarsStore.com right now and get yourself a limited edition Betsy Ross flag t-shirt which is on sale right now for $17.76. You can also get the same Don't Tread on Me t-shirt that Chris Pratt himself was wearing. By purchasing these t-shirts, you're not only supporting your country and your president, but you're supporting me and helping make sure I can keep making these videos that you love. They're only printing a limited supply of these t-shirts, so make sure you get yours right now at InfoWarsStore.com before they sell out.
Okay, here's what's going on. I'm going to be back live next hour. I'm working on a big story right here, and I've got to make some phone calls. And this is some big stuff about the latest attempted coup against the president and against the country. And then Lord Monckton's going to be joining us as well with big new developments exposing the fact that they know man-made global warming and climate change is a fraud. Of course, we already know that, but a bunch of major studies, a bunch of big admissions. That's going to be coming up as well today. But I don't normally air something over and over and over again. But I've aired this already 3 times. I'm going to air it again. It's Professor Robert Epstein, who's a psychologist and runs big computer science programs, works with DARPA, you name it. He testified, as you know, last week that Google's already stealing the election along with Facebook. And if it doesn't get stopped, we will see the election stolen in 2020. So this is a paramount issue. And then next hour, I am going to start the hour off getting into the espionage and the spies caught inside the White House and really how deep all of that goes. So we'll be back. I'll be back live next hour with all of that information. And we're going to be breaking it all down. It's very, very important. So please stay with us.
Google's manipulation of votes gave at least 2.6 million additional votes to Hillary Clinton in the year 2016. Is that correct?
2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million votes, depending on how aggressive they were in using the techniques that I've been studying. They control these, and no one can counteract them. These are not competitive. These are tools that they have at their disposal exclusively.
Your testimony is that Google is, through bias in search results, manipulating voters in a way they're not aware of.
On a massive scale. In 2020, if all these companies are supporting the same candidate, there are 15 million votes on the line that can be shifted without people's knowledge and without leaving a paper trail for authorities to trace. Without monitoring systems in place, we'll never know what these companies are doing. And in 2020, you can bet that all of these companies are going to go all out. And the methods that they're using are invisible. They're subliminal. They're more powerful than most any effects I've ever seen in the behavioral sciences, and I've been in the behavioral sciences for almost 40 years.
A handful of Silicon Valley billionaires and giant corporations are able to spend millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars collectively, massively influencing the results of elections.
Senator, with respect, I must correct you.
Please.
If Mark Zuckerberg chooses to send out a go vote reminder just to Democrats on Election Day, that doesn't cost him a dime.
Google is developing an app to screen out content that the Chinese government considers too sensitive for its citizens. Translation: Google is helping China silence its political opposition.
China's chilling dictatorship is moving quickly to introduce social scorecards in which all citizens will be monitored 24/7 and ranked on their behavior.
A high rating means you get benefits like no deposit of renting house or skipping airport security. But the low scores means you can't rent a car or apply for visas. The Chinese government expects to make this system mandatory in 2020.
Google is planning to launch a censored version of its search engine in China.
The Chinese government, as people probably know, has a quite comprehensive internet censorship system set up, and it's known as the Great Firewall. It blocks blocks all kinds of information about, you know, political opponents of the ruling Communist Party regime there. All kinds of things that they're blocking out.
Companies agreed to ban particular sites or search times on topics like human rights, democracy, and free speech.
You know Google's really the CIA, but it's leftist run now, so it's run over to China, and it's a civil war inside the intelligence agencies.
These are serious people plotting to finagle the searches, which is what Google sells to us as being fair and unbiased.
Google alone could determine the outcome of almost any American election just by altering its search suggestions. We'd never know what happened.
Well, Google is being accused of hiding negative stories about Hillary and her campaign by changing its algorithm to bury stories like the Clinton body count story. That's according to website InfoWars.
So Google won't work with the Pentagon on artificial intelligence, but it's officially moved its main operations for AI to China and is merging with the Chinese government, letting them have all the technology.
So they're working on behalf of the fascist Chinese government, sending propaganda to its people to keep them under the control of the government. But we shouldn't worry about the fact that they have a chokehold on all human information in English. Not a big deal.
I mean, that's a lot you just said there, but I think we shouldn't worry.
It's all true.
So Google always swears that its liberal, anti-Trump views of the top people doesn't affect the search product. But here is documented proof of some Google executives wanting to tamper with searches as a form of political activism.
The Chinese government, let's remember, imprisons dissidents and Christians daily. They have more than 1 million Muslims in re-education camps. But the legitimate election of President Trump somehow conflicts with Google's vaunted values? Give me a break.
Google was working to get Hillary Clinton elected.
If a Google user types in Clinton body, they get car repair shop results instead of a story that talks about a list of people tied to the Clintons who have died under mysterious circumstances over the last 3 decades.
A new bombshell development reveals Hillary Clinton's leaked emails were likely responsible for the deaths of up to 20 CIA agents working in China.
Over a dozen CIA agents may have been killed as a result of Hillary Clinton's leaked emails.
The real election meddling is by Facebook and Google and others that are shadow banning people, that are outright banning people, and that are blocking conservatives involved in their own First Amendment political speech. Shame on the mainstream corporate media for not defending the First Amendment, but instead attack-dogging, calling for federal regulators to shut down independent free press working with big tech.
You're not allowed to get the InfoWars official app on your iPhone. You're not allowed to watch the Alex Jones Show on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. But if you're the Chinese government and you want access to every citizen and all their data and everything they've ever done on an Apple product, good to go, baby. Good to go. And the left in America loves it.
We're going to move to the east, to the Horn of Africa and Somalia, the most dangerous, backward, evil country in the world. And you know why Somalia is so bad? Because African countries all around it have driven the Arab slavers in the last 1,000 years, the Muslim slavers, into the Horn of Africa, where it was the center of the slave trade of Africans all over the world. Once the Roman Empire fell, white slaves were the main slave group. Africans that were rich had white slaves. It was just because that's who was trained and where they got slaves. It was Gaul, that's France today. Germania, which is Austria and Germany. The British and others, who they called Gaelic, out of what's the UK today, Old Albion, England. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, the Western Empire, then the fall of the Eastern Empire in Constantinople, when the Islamists took it, civilization collapsed in Western Europe. And there wasn't any good slaves being brought in anymore. And so the Muslims started enslaving Africans over 1,000 years ago. And that's why Ilhan Omar doesn't look African. She's an elite Somali. The upper-class Somalis are light-skinned. They are Muslims, and they are slave traffickers. They sell black slaves today to 4 countries that still allow slavery. It's still customary in several Arab countries to have black house slaves. That's the truth, folks. That's what they don't want you to know. I bet you a lot of money she comes from slavers. And you're literally looking at someone that that comes from the hub of 1,000 years of black slavery. Ilhan Omar, guaranteed in her lineage, is pure slaver. They ship slaves out of Somalia all the way to Indonesia. And then as you project out towards the east, to the far east, you will see all the islands and countries they've taken over in the last 1,000 years since Islam, 1,400 years, warstore.com.
These comments from the White House are disgraceful and disgusting, and the comments are racist.
The chair will remind all members, please do not make comments toward personality-based comments.
This whole Ilhan Omar, the Jihad Squad, all of it, really illustrates what a bunch of cowards the Republican establishment is, and how you turn on any channel, they're saying, well, what the president has said is racist and he needs to walk it back. No, Ilhan Omar has openly said she doesn't like this country. She said that she's going to teach us how to be patriotic.
If you go back into the 4 congresswomen, the things they've said about our country are terrible. What they've said about Israel are just terrible. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but certainly a lot of people say they hate our country, and I think it's a disgrace.
And so since the first day this president introduced the Muslim ban, knowing that the country I came from was on that, and that my country now was on the track of implementing fascist laws, I knew that I had to speak up.
She comes to this country and squats on us and spits in our face, and we're supposed to bow down to her. You don't go to Mexico or someplace and run your mouth about how it sucks. They'd say, get the hell out if you don't like it. And that's how any other country in the world who isn't totally brainwashed acts. We're not saying get out of here because your background is an Arab slave family, Arab slave traders. We're saying because you're an arrogant, America-hating liar that says we're running concentration camps and our overworked Border Patrol are Nazis killing children.
Right now, the president is committing human rights abuses at the border, keeping children in cages, and having human beings drinking out of toilets.
Ilhan Omar goes along with the lie that children are drinking out of toilets. She came here as a refugee. She married her brother. She wrote letters to federal judges to get ISIS terrorists out of prison. She voted against bill blocking terrorists from life insurance. The woman is a cancer.
I know there are a lot of people that are trying to distract us now, but I want you all to know that we are not going to let them.
And the crowd was right behind her.
To me, she's far more patriotic than the people who were at the rally chanting last night. And when I hear that, it makes me afraid.
I'm concerned that Trump is building a militia, to be honest with you.
Are there folks from Africa that come here that are great people? Absolutely. I've run into people that have immigrated here from Africa who are hardworking, smart, nice people because they know to appreciate a country like the U.S. compared to some of the places they've come from. But a lot of people are brought here and have chips put on their shoulders by the left and by leaders the Democrats give them, like Ilhan Omar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're live for the rest of the broadcast today. I punched out the last 2 segments because I didn't want to go off half-cocked with what I was about to talk about. So I went and reviewed in the last 30 minutes or so a lot of court documents, a lot of research, made some phone calls so that I could talk about what's currently happening, because I realized that I've been so busy covering all the other big subjects, I'm so sick of Russiagate. But the criminal investigation of Russiagate and the espionage that was carried out by the deep state, that is a huge story. And it's all about to come out in the open. And this also tells us whether Bob Barr is a good guy or not. So I'm really ready to lay out some big stuff on the side, other side of this quick break. And these type of things really upset me. It's very sad our country's gotten into this position. Stay with us. We're now 6 minutes into hour number 2 on this July 23rd, 2019 worldwide simulcast of radio and TV blasting out over the internet and on AM and FM and TV stations across the country and the world. The whole situation with the attempt by the entrenched bureaucracy or the deep state to keep President Trump from getting into office and then attempting to remove him from office is the greatest string of arrogant, outrageous, over-the-top criminal activity and treason and espionage against this nation. And then the subsequent lying and perjury and changing of stories is the most spectacular ever seen as well. But the country's 246 years old. It's gotten more and more corrupt over time. And as we become more powerful, the corruption has become more intense. As Lord Acton famously said, power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So here's the summation. And we have the live feed named today up on newswars.com. Deep state caught spying on Trump and stealing national security information from the White House. What they did was a crime. And then how they would leak the information with lies sewn into it is also extremely criminal. Now, Trump's known all this, a lot of this, since the head of the NSA at the time came over and visited him when he was president-elect at Trump Tower and gave him a good idea of what was going on. We knew what was going on because we were studying the globalists and their statements and their past activities, and they were very arrogant about it when he was president-elect. They said, we've been spying on him. We got proof he's a Russian agent. And Trump said, well, if you did, that's illegal. Show us your proof. They went, oh, we never said that. So there's a lot goes into this, but here's the big announcement. They haven't caught just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. They have caught dozens of people that have been in the White House 2.5+ years, and even before when he was president-elect, who've been actively trying to frame and set up the president. That itself another giant crime. And now a particular federal judge has been releasing tranches or segments of documents from Comey's blackmail diary that show his testimony to Congress was a lie and that show who was spying on who and then how they would leak fantastic lies from their, quote, sources. So I've got several articles here in front of me that everybody needs to go read, but the reason this is a big issue is the federal judge is now ordering that it all be released in the next month without redaction, which shows the power structure now knows that Trump has the upper hand. And that shows that Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, now the current Attorney General, the reason he was confirmed so quickly was the establishment couldn't believe they were putting their guy, a fixer, from the George Herbert Walker days from the CIA, not just the FBI. They couldn't believe they were putting this guy in, but he was there to cover their butt, but to sue for peace with Trump. But they've not sued for peace. They're still trying to take Trump out. And so Barr is asking all this stuff be redacted because it exposes the Clintons and Obama and the illegal spying and the planting and all the rest of it. So they don't know what to do. Because the left just can't stop their impeachment. They can't stop their fake Mueller investigation tomorrow. They can't stop the lie that Trump's a Russian agent because that's how they started the fake national security investigation to begin with and told people in the CIA and FBI, we have proof, we're going to take him out, get ready. Including, and you're going to hear this soon, plans to kill the president because he was a, quote, Russian asset. But a lot of their own people got cold feet when Trump got inaugurated, and then when the country turned around, and then when they learned that the dossier was fake. Their own people were buying this. And that's in all these documents. They really thought Trump was a Russian agent when the Hillary and Obama are Chi-Com agents. And that's all illustrated now all over the news. It's all coming out. So they've discovered not just one, not just two, not just three, but a bunch of these people, and it's all coming out. And so that's why they're so panicked. And there are multiple, I'm told 3 grand juries in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, at least, that are going to be returning indictments against some of these individuals. And you need to go read these articles. One's from The Last Refuge, and it links to all the court documents and statements. James Comey had designated FBI spy in the White House, who now works for CNN. This report goes through everything. I'm going to read some of this in a moment. Comey's cyber spy in White House stole classified White House material, is now working for CNN. And, of course, his name is Anthony Ferrante. And we can roll some B-roll of him on CNN hosting shows. I queued that up about 30 minutes ago. Now, this individual is just one of them. And he works for the deep state. And it comes out that he was working with the Italian government, reportedly, to plant on Italian citizens' computers that own server companies WikiLeaks info, to then plant it in the U.S. to then set up Trump. And that's all come out in the Italian courts. It's just bombshell information to have all of this going on. So these individuals decided to set up the president. They decided to frame him, but there was literally nothing. And so this individual was supposedly in the White House advising Trump on national security, on cybersecurity, while he was in the Russia investigation run by Hillary and her people and Obama in the deep state, and again, trying to then find ways to plant info on the president. And these articles go through all of this. It's beyond sensational. Now we already know all this. But the fact is, we now learn that Mr. Barr understands this can blow up the whole government. So he's in there saying Trump did nothing wrong, and that's all true. They're attacking him. But now we learn he's actually in there, just like I said he was, totally and completely protecting Brennan, Clapper, Hillary, all of them. Because they have all the damning evidence of the perjury to Congress, the illegally spying, didn't have authorization from the Attorney General to do this to the president, and the Attorney General can't do that. Even if you say, oh, we think the president's a Russian agent, we've got to do this, you still go to Congress for an impeachment. Or every president would be accused of being a foreign asset. Globalism is a foreign asset. Globalism is overthrowing the country. Globalism is saying we can't say America or American in colleges, or that we can't say that our country's exceptional. And CNN says America sucks. These Trump supporters love America. They're bad people. That's the enemy. That's the outsider. That's the globalist. They're the ones that want our economy imploded and are trying to implode it. You judge a tree by its fruits. And the fruit of the Democrat deep state tree is poison. The fruit of the neocon tree is poison. Total and complete poison. So when we come back, I'm going to run through these court documents, and I'm going to get into what's coming out next. But the judge has ruled it's all coming out. And it's a total blueprint, a lot of it's already out, of treason, ladies and gentlemen, a blueprint of trying to remove the president. But the president was so clean, there was nothing there. I'm Alex Jones with newswars.com and infowars.com. We're beating the deep state together. So I salute you, the crew, and everybody else for making this broadcast possible. Spies have been caught inside the White House working for multinational corporations, using their government credentials to carry out the fraud and theft. Massive amounts of national security data has been stolen and sold to CNN, MSNBC, and others who then sell the information to foreign governments. You see, globalism itself is espionage against the nation state and against the people of the nation state. And now, federal judges are releasing documents and are set to release documents exposing the full criminal extent of how President Trump was spied on when he was a candidate, when he was president-elect, and when he was president, and how they tried to set him up, and how they perjured themselves to Congress. This thing is more than coming to a head. It's like a volcano when it explodes. And this is all being reported right now. We have major federal government watchdog groups. We have federal judges coming out and laying all this out. And if you're a TV viewer, we're putting the judges' rulings on screen, all of it. But let me just get into the basic facts here, because this thing is like a cake that's been baked. We heard the ping on the timer, and that lets us know the next shoe is about to drop. My sources told me a week ago, and it just got lost in the haze of battle, hey, get ready. They are going to indict people. They got 3 grand juries open, and the word is they're getting ready to indict. It's why the Democrats are so damn scared. It's why they're bringing Mueller back. He doesn't want to testify. He knows that his mentor, Bill Barr, who brought him in, that's who brought him in, has told him, you need to stop. Trump's got the royal flush. And unless you assassinate him, he's going to destroy you. And the president has been convinced to back off, but then they've broken the deal. The president doesn't want destabilization. He doesn't want this to happen to the FBI and the CIA, but they're hopelessly corrupt sewers at the top. This is a long-time deep state civil war coming to a head. I have documents on that as well. So Real Clear Investigations and others break all this down. I've done deep research on this. I can tell you it's very, very accurate. And it just lays out how Bill Barr has been trying to suppress all this. But now multiple federal judges have ordered that even more of the damning documents come out. And yes, stunningly, Judge Bossberg has ordered the archery declarations to be fully released to the public without redactions. And it goes through Comey's notes, everything. That means all those black boxes in the example above would have been removed. And so now the new groups of documents be released from the whole fake Russiagate that's really a blueprint of their crimes against the American people and against our electoral process are going to be released unredacted. And so Bill Barr tried to protect the power structure, but the power structure was so hopelessly corrupt and senile and arrogant that they're continuing to attack. And so now Trump is going on the attack. And that's really the big news here. There's so many things here. Trump's going on the attack. The grand juries are out, set to indict. I was told judges are about to just release it all because if the agencies won't do it, Trump's got judges that will. That's happening. We've been following every step of this. And it's a giant world, a giant cosmology. It'd be like if somebody told me, describe to me the Lord of the Rings trilogy. How do you describe 3 books, thousands of pages? Well, imagine trying to describe how big this is. But you've all been living it. You've all been seeing it. And when you look at the arrogance of people like Anthony, the FBI minion, Fenate, and the things that he's done, and just how they believe that they're invincible and how they can get away with anything they want, that's just not the case. And again, he's been working as a consultant before and after at CNN, bringing them the national security goodies, because Trump would talk about something in a meeting, and then he'd see it that night on CNN, but with lies added to it. And so Trump started planting disinfo. And then he was figuring out who was in the meetings, who was doing it, what was happening. So imagine trying to run a government when you're surrounded by all these people who brag, oh, we don't listen to him. Oh, when he signs an order, we just throw it away and hope he forgets about it, to where Trump now has to carry around a little notebook with notes on what he's told him to do, and he has to go back through that notebook. Never had to do that as a guy running hundreds of properties, thousands of properties. But he has to do it because in business, people get promoted for working hard and being smart and doing their job and being able to be counted on. In D.C., they do it for being snakes. They get advanced for that. That's why it's not a swamp. It's a giant open-air sewer. And you know what they do to everybody who's in U.S. intelligence or who's in the corporate world in D.C.? They call up and they threaten you. They threaten your wife. And they hack into your computers and they find out what investments you have. And they start threatening your children at school. I'm not in the government, and I've had this stuff go on. And they have been harassing thousands and thousands of people hardcore. And most people go, whoa, I'll be a double agent. I'll claim I'm for Trump by day, but I'll work against Trump by night. But the longer Trump stays in, almost 3 years now, they're out of gas. They're tired. They know they've committed crimes. They know there's grand juries open out there. They know that they're under scrutiny. They know that the actual people that work and defend the country are on Trump's side. And they see that hourglass almost empty and no time's up. That's why the left, oh, don't regulate big tech because they were running it. Now that Trump's about to move in on it, oh, yeah, we want to regulate. They want to get their hands in there to use it to prohibit our speech, not have laws that say don't prohibit. The First Amendment protects rights, doesn't take them. And if we don't have regulations against the censorship and against the combines and against the cartels, then the Chinese communist and the globalist EU and others will come in via the vacuum. And that's what Ted Cruz, the president, now say. We've already got Europe regulating our internet. We built it. We're not going to let them. Yes, I know how to talk to these people. And I will tell you, we spearheaded the common sense to D.C. You sit there and take Google's money. In a couple of years, it'll be pure Chi-Com. The money will even be cut off. So even if you only care about the money, you better take control of these to keep the money flow going, dumbass. And I'm not calling Ted Cruz a dumbass or the president, but I'm talking about the average person in Congress is a lowly bootlicking follower who was put into power because they climbed up the ranks of ass-kissing, like dung beetles, rolling piles of crap around. I am affecting the world from the grassroots, building a whole new system like we did with the Republic. This is Renaissance Radio. This is the next level. This is the pro-human future. Next year's news today, Infowars.com. Now, we got something very interesting coming up. I'm not even going to tell you until we land this very interesting fish in the boat. We'll see if that happens on the other side. More coming straight ahead. Stay with us.